I didn't open the message right away. I just stared at the screen, like if I waited a few more seconds, it might disappear. But it didn't, and the name on it made my hands go cold, even though the coffee beside me was still warm. Hannah, my sister. I'm 31. I live in Da Nang now, working as a graphic designer for a small studio, stable enough that most days pass without anything worth remembering. I have a bright apartment, a patient partner, and a cat that always finds the exact patch of sunlight in the afternoon. A life that looks quiet, at least from the outside. I don't like waiting. I don't like standing still for too long. If someone says, I'll be back in 5 minutes, I start counting in my head. By minute 6, something in my chest is already off. The message was only one line: Mom's in the hospital. Can you come home? I read it 3 times. And the strangest part was, I wasn't surprised. Just aware of something familiar coming back. Slow, cold, certain. I didn't reply. I set the phone down, but my eyes didn't leave it. Like if I looked away, the past would step out of the screen. I haven't been home in almost 12 years. No calls, no visits, no explanations. Not because I was angry, but because I learned how to live without going back. When I was a kid, my mother liked to call everything a lesson. She never used the word punishment, just teaching. When I was 9, I spilled a glass of water at dinner. It wasn't a big deal, but my mother didn't say anything. She stood up, wiped the table, and told me to go outside. I thought she wanted me to grab something, but she didn't. She told me to stand on the porch. So you'll remember to be more careful next time. I stood there for almost an hour. No one called me back in. It wasn't raining, but the wind was cold enough that I started shaking. When I came back inside, my dad was watching TV. He glanced at me and smiled. Learned your lesson? I nodded, not because I understood, but because I knew that was the right answer. After that, there were more lessons. Small ones. Nothing dramatic if you tried to explain them. Like the time I forgot my keys. I stood outside the house for nearly 2 hours, even though the lights were on inside. Or when I got a bad grade. My mother didn't yell. She just stayed silent through dinner. Didn't look at me. That silence was heavier than any words. It made me feel like I didn't exist. I learned to read the room before speaking, to study their faces, their tone. I knew when to talk and when it was safer to disappear. There's one day I remember clearly. I was 12. My mom asked me to go to the supermarket with her. Her voice was soft, almost normal. That made me hopeful. We walked through the aisles like any other day. She pushed the cart. I followed behind. Nothing felt wrong. No warning signs. Then she stopped in the home goods section, handed me a short list. Go grab these. I nodded. It wasn't much. When I came back, she was gone. At first, I thought she just moved to another aisle, so I looked around. Then I went back. Then I searched again. 10 minutes. 20. I started calling her name. Quietly, no one answered. I didn't ask for help, didn't go to staff, because I didn't know if I was allowed to. After almost an hour, I stopped walking, right in the middle of the aisle, not crying, just standing there. And then I saw her, at the far end of the hallway. She wasn't rushing, wasn't worried, just watching me, with a small smile. You found your way. I don't remember what I said, just what I felt. It wasn't fear. It was something breaking. Like a thread had been cut, and I didn't have anything to hold on to anymore. After that day, I stopped asking questions, stopped expecting explanations. I just adapted. Quieter, faster, smaller. The only person who ever asked if I was okay was my literature teacher. Her name was Miss Han. She didn't ask much, just once. Do you want to stay after class for a bit? I nodded. I don't even know why. She gave me a glass of water, didn't say anything else. We sat there for 10 minutes, in silence. But that silence was different. It didn't make me shrink. It let me exist. She didn't save me, didn't change my life overnight. But that day, I understood something. Not every adult was the same. And that was enough. I left home at 19, no fight, no scene. I just packed my things and left. No one stopped me. No one asked why. Like I was just finishing another lesson. 12 years later, the message was still there. Mom's in the hospital. I didn't know what I was supposed to feel. Worry? Or just an old reflex waking up again? That night I told Min. He listened without interrupting. He didn't say, you should go. Didn't say, don't go. Just asked one thing. What do you want? I didn't answer right away, because for once, the choice was mine. I booked a flight the next morning, not to go back, but to end something. The hospital was small. It smelled like antiseptic and quiet fear. My mom looked smaller than I remembered. My dad sat beside her. He looked at me, surprised. No one cried, no one hugged, just a long, heavy silence. My mom spoke first. Her voice was weak, but steady. You came. I nodded, didn't move closer. She said they made mistakes, said they were trying to make me strong. I listened, but didn't react. Because for the first time, I didn't have to respond the right way. I just said one thing. Strength isn't learning to be alone. The room went quiet. I didn't say much more, didn't list everything they had done, because I realized they didn't need to understand everything. I just needed to be clear. I'm not here to come back. My mom looked at me. Her face, different now. Something like regret, but not enough to change anything. And that didn't matter anymore. I stood up, slowly. My dad asked, "Can't you forgive us?" I looked at him, didn't look away. Forgiveness doesn't mean returning. I said it and walked out. In the hallway, I stopped for a second, didn't cry, just breathed. Deeper than usual. Like for the first time, I wasn't waiting for anyone to come back. On the flight home, I thought about that 12-year-old girl in the supermarket, standing in the middle of the aisle, too afraid to ask for help. She thought she had to handle everything alone to be accepted. She was wrong. Not everyone leaves you. Not every lesson needs pain. Some people just sit beside you for 10 minutes, and that's enough. I didn't go back to the old house because I already had a home. Not perfect, but safe enough that I don't have to disappear. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. They didn't teach me how to be strong. They taught me how to live without them. And somehow, that's what saved me. Chapter 2. I thought it would end there, that walking out of that hospital room would close something cleanly. It didn't. 3 days later, Hannah called again. Not a message this time. A call. I let it ring longer than I should have, long enough for my chest to tighten in that old familiar way. Then I answered. Her voice was different. Not weaker, just heavier. She keeps asking for you. A pause. Not dramatic. Just real. I didn't say anything right away, because I didn't know which version of myself was supposed to answer. I already went, I said finally. My voice sounded steady. Too steady. I know, Hannah replied. I mean, she's asking again. There was something in the way she said it. Not pressure. Just information. I walked to the window. The city looked the same. Bright. Busy. Normal. But inside something had shifted. Not broken. Just unsettled. What do you want me to do? I asked. Not because I didn't know, but because I needed to hear it out loud. Another pause. I don't know, she said. I just didn't want you to hear it from someone else. That again. Not control. Not manipulation. Just honesty. We stayed on the phone a little longer, mostly quiet. Before hanging up, she said one more thing. I'm not going back there either. That caught me off guard, not the words, the certainty. I have a son now, she added, and I can't pretend I don't understand anymore. Something in my chest shifted again, softer this time. After the call ended, I didn't move. I just stood there, looking out at nothing in particular. It's strange how the past doesn't always come back as pain. Sometimes it comes back as questions. That night, I couldn't sleep, not because I was upset, because my mind wouldn't stay still. I kept thinking about Hannah. Not the voice on the phone. The little girl. She used to follow me around the house, always a step behind. Mismatched socks, hair never tied properly. She didn't understand what was happening back then. Not fully. And maybe I had convinced myself that she was fine, that she didn't see what I saw, didn't feel what I felt. But memory isn't that simple. I remember one night. I must have been 15. I was sitting on my bed, drawing, door half closed. Hannah stood outside. Quiet. Can I come in? She asked. I hesitated, not because I didn't want her there, because I didn't know if I was allowed to say yes. You don't have to ask, I told her. She stepped in slowly, like the room belonged to someone else. She sat on the edge of the bed, watching me draw. You're good at that, she said. I shrugged, didn't look up. After a while, she spoke again, Why don't you talk much anymore? The question caught me. Not sharp, just unexpected. I do, I said. She shook her head. Not like before. I didn't answer that because she was right. There was a time I used to laugh more, talk more, before I learned how much silence could protect me. Are you mad at Mom? She asked. I stopped drawing. I could feel something rising in my chest. Not anger, something heavier. No, I said. It wasn't a lie. Not exactly. I just didn't have a word for what it actually was. Hannah nodded, like that answer made sense to her. Then she said something I didn't expect. I think she gets bored. I looked at her then, really looked. She was just a kid, but her eyes, they were paying attention. When she's bored, Hannah continued, she starts watching more. A chill ran through me. Slow, precise, because I knew exactly what she meant. Watching meant waiting, waiting for something to go wrong. So it could become another lesson. Just don't get picked, she said quietly. That was the moment I understood something. Hannah had always seen it, she just didn't know how to say it. And I had left. The memory faded slowly, like most things do. But the feeling stayed. The next morning, I called her back. I'm coming again, I said. Not for my parents. For her. The hospital looked the same as before. Nothing had changed. But this time, I wasn't walking in alone. Hannah was already there. She looked older than her voice. Tired. But when she saw me, something in her face softened. We didn't hug right away, just stood there for a second. Then she stepped closer. It wasn't dramatic, just real. I didn't think you'd come back, she said. I didn't either, I replied. And that was the truth. We sat in the hallway, not inside the room. Neither of us was in a rush. Do you remember things the same way? She asked. I thought about that. Longer than I expected. Not exactly, I said, but I remember how it felt. She nodded. That's the part that stayed with me, too. We didn't need to compare details or prove anything, because for once, we weren't being tested. We were just there. After a while, Hannah leaned back in her chair. I used to think you left because you were stronger, she said. I let out a small breath. I left because I couldn't stay, I answered. There's a difference. She smiled a little, tired but real. Yeah, she said, I get that now. Inside the room, I could hear movement, voices. But for the first time, I didn't feel pulled toward it, because something more important was happening. Not forgiveness, not closure, something quieter, understanding, and maybe that was enough for now. Chapter 3. We stayed in the hallway longer than we planned, long enough for the light outside to shift without us noticing. Hannah kept her eyes on the floor for a while, like she was arranging her thoughts before letting them out. I didn't call you just for her, she said. I turned slightly, not surprised. I figured, I replied. She let out a small breath. Not relief, just release. I needed to know I wasn't making it up. That landed heavier than anything else she had said. Making what up? I asked. She looked at me then. Really looked. That it wasn't normal. Silence, not the kind that hurts, the kind that settles. You're not, I said. You never were. Her shoulders dropped a little, like she'd been holding that sentence for years. I used to watch you, she said quietly, when she would pick you. That word again, pick. I didn't interrupt, didn't soften it. I thought if I stayed quiet enough, she continued, she wouldn't notice me. A familiar strategy. Too familiar. But sometimes she did anyway, Hannah added. I felt something tighten in my chest. Slow. Controlled. What happened? I asked. She hesitated, not because she didn't want to tell me, because she was deciding how much to say. She stopped talking to me for 3 days once, Hannah said. I blinked. I was 11, she continued. I forgot to lock the back door. That sounded small. It always did. No yelling, she added. No punishment. Just absence. She talked to Dad like I wasn't there, Hannah said. Asked him to pass things around me. I could see it. Too clearly. What did you do? I asked. Hannah let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh. I tried to fix everything, she said. Cleaned the house, did homework early, stayed quiet. Of course she did. And then? I asked. She just started talking again, Hannah said, like flipping a switch. No explanation, she added. Like that was the pattern. Not chaos, control. I thought it meant I passed, Hannah said. My chest tightened again, not sharp, just deep. That's what she wanted you to think, I said. Hannah nodded slowly, like the sentence was settling into place. For a while, neither of us spoke. Inside the room, I heard my father's voice. Low, measured, the same voice he used with customers, calm, reasonable. I used to think he didn't notice, Hannah said suddenly. I glanced at her. But he always knew, she continued. He just didn't stop it. That felt accurate, too accurate. Sometimes he smiled, she added. I looked away, because I remembered that part too. Do you ever feel like, Hannah paused, like you learned the wrong things really well? I let out a quiet breath. Yeah, I said, all the time. Like how to read a room before speaking, how to stay useful, how to disappear without making it obvious. Skills that look like strength from the outside, but cost something underneath. I don't want my son to learn that, Hannah said. Her voice shifted there, stronger. He won't, I replied. She looked at me, searching. How do you know? She asked. I thought about that for a second. Because you noticed, I said. And you questioned it. That matters, more than people think. Hannah didn't answer right away, but I saw it in her face. Something steady, something choosing. A nurse walked past us then. Soft footsteps, neutral expression. Time was moving again. You don't have to go in, Hannah said quietly. I knew what she meant. You can just leave, she added. That option sat between us. Simple, real. I know, I said. And I did. For a long time, leaving had been the only answer I knew. But this time felt different. Not because I needed anything from that room, but because I didn't. I'm not going in for them, I said. Hannah nodded. She understood. I'm going in for me, I added. That was new. We stood up at the same time. No rush, just movement. At the door, I paused for a second. Not from fear, from awareness. I wasn't 12 anymore. I wasn't waiting to be told what I did wrong. I pushed the door open. My father looked up first. Same posture, same controlled expression. My mother turned slower. Her eyes found mine, held there. No performance this time, no immediate words. Just recognition. I won't stay long, I said. My voice didn't shake. My father nodded slightly, like we were discussing something practical. My mother watched me, carefully. I thought about what you said, she began. I didn't move closer. About strength, she added. I waited. I didn't know how else to raise you, she said. There it was. Not an apology, an explanation. I believed, she continued, that the world would be harder than I was. I let that sit, because part of it might have been true. But that didn't make it right. You don't prepare someone for pain, I said slowly, by becoming it first. The room went still. My father shifted slightly, uncomfortable. My mother didn't look away. For a moment, I saw something different in her expression. Not control, not certainty. Something closer to doubt. It didn't change the past, but it changed the air in the room. I'm not here to fix anything, I said. Clear, simple. I just needed to say that out loud. No one interrupted. No one argued, because there wasn't anything left to debate. I stepped back. I hope you get better, I added. And I meant it. Not as forgiveness, not as reconciliation. Just as a human truth. I turned and walked out. Hannah was still in the hallway. She looked up when she saw me. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. She stood up. Ready? She asked. I nodded. And for the first time, leaving didn't feel like escaping. It felt like choosing. We walked toward the exit together, not looking back. Not because we were avoiding something, because we already understood it. Chapter 4. The air outside felt different. Not lighter, not heavier, just clearer. Hannah and I didn't say much as we walked out. We didn't need to. Some conversations don't need words, just presence. We stopped near the parking lot, neither of us in a rush to leave. Are you going back today? She asked. I nodded. Yeah, I said. I have work tomorrow. Normal life. Simple words. She smiled a little, like that mattered more than anything else. I'm glad you came, she said. I looked at her, really looked this time. I didn't come for them, I replied. I know, she said softly. A pause. Me too. That landed gently, not heavy, just honest. We stood there a few seconds longer, letting everything settle. Take care of yourself, I told her. She nodded. You too, she said, then added, quieter, for real this time. I almost smiled. We didn't hug dramatically, just a quick, real kind of hug. Then we stepped back, and that was it. No promises, no expectations, just two people finally seeing things clearly. On the way to the airport, I didn't turn on any music. I let the silence stay. But it wasn't the same silence as before. It didn't press down on me, didn't ask anything. It just existed. At a red light, I noticed my hands on the steering wheel. Still. No shaking, no tension. That felt new. Not dramatic, but real. On the flight back, I took the window seat, watched the ground get smaller. Cities have a way of doing that, making everything look distant. Simpler. But I knew better now. Distance doesn't erase things, it just changes how you carry them. I thought about my mother, about the look on her face, not anger, not control, something uncertain. For most of my life, she had always been sure she was right. That certainty had shaped everything, and for the first time, it wasn't there anymore. I didn't feel victory, just completion, like finishing something that had been open too long. When the plane landed, my phone turned back on. Messages started coming in. Work, friends, and one from Hannah. Made it home. Thank you. I stared at it for a second, then typed back. You too. Short, but enough. When I got home, Max ran to the door, tail wagging like nothing had changed. I crouched down, letting him press into me. Solid, warm. Min walked out from the kitchen. You okay? He asked. I thought about that. Not the automatic answer. The real one. Yeah, I said. And this time it was true. Not because everything was fixed, but because I wasn't waiting for it to be. That night, I stood by the window for a while, the city lights steady outside. I used to think healing would feel big, obvious. Like something you could point to and say, that's the moment everything changed. But it doesn't work like that. Sometimes it's just this. Standing in your own space, breathing without checking if it's allowed, not bracing for something to go wrong, just being there. I thought about that girl in the supermarket again, 12 years old, standing in the middle of the aisle, waiting, thinking someone would come back for her. She didn't know then that she would be the one to leave, and that leaving would be the beginning, not the end. If there's one thing I understand now, it's this. Respect isn't something you earn by enduring more than you should. And love, real love, doesn't make you smaller to keep it. I didn't get closure from them. I gave it to myself, and somehow that was enough.